Hello, parents and guardians, and welcome back to another Discipleship Debrief. This past Sunday, CBC Youth continued in our series in Ecclesiastes. We only have a couple of weeks of it left, and so this week we were going over the entirety of chapter 10. And it's the first time in the series that we've done an entire chapter, but there was a specific reason for it, because the preacher's really given one thought the entire chapter, and he's bouncing around to display it, but it really is one thought. And so we went over that thought, and it's yet another warning about foolishness and yet another display of how dangerous foolishness is. And it's kind of funny going through the entire book how often this theme comes up time and time and time again. And I pointed out to the students that this is to show how important it is to understand, right? We don't remind ourselves or each other of unimportant facts. We remind each other of important facts, vital facts, facts that you cannot get wrong. And that's what the preacher's doing. He's going, this is how dangerous foolishness is, and I'm going to remind you time and time and time and time again, right? As he considered the world and what would bring happiness, he saw time and time and time again just how dangerous and painful foolishness is. And so that's what he lays out for us in this chapter. And he lays out a bunch of characteristics about foolishness. The fact that a little bit of foolishness outweighs a lot of wisdom, showing us that wisdom doesn't justify foolishness, right? We can't just choose to be foolish at times because we're mostly wise. That's not how it works. He also shows us that foolishness or fools go to the left while wise people go to the right. And this is not just a geographical statement. This is a statement about how completely opposite they are. Foolishness in our culture can sometimes be treated as a similar path or a parallel path to wisdom that is maybe more difficult or a little bit looser or whatever, but ultimately arrives at the same place, right? We're all going to the same place, right? And the preacher is like, no, they are not parallel paths. They are not similar paths. One goes left, one goes right? One goes east, one goes west. They're polar opposites. To the point that he notes in verse 3 of chapter 10 that even if a foolish person was on the right path, they would immediately be spotted as a fool. So even if they happen to be going the right direction for a little while, it's still immediately apparent, no, they're not a wise person. They can't even be mistaken for a wise person. Again, showing just how dangerous foolishness is. It's completely contrary to wisdom. So if you want to reach the end destination of wisdom, you can't do it on the road of foolishness. It doesn't go to the same place. The next thing the preacher notes is that fools are consumed by their words. And for this section, I just read a couple of verses that talk about foolish words and foolish lips and just reflected on some of the language that is used about them, right? That word consumed. In Proverbs, it says that foolish lips are the fool's ruin, or that they're the fool's snare. And again, these are words that are all related to destruction and trapping. And their words are their destruction and traps brought on ourselves by ourselves because of our words. And again, how dangerous this is, right? You can immediately picture how much trouble and strife our words can bring about in our lives. And so clearly we don't want to live a foolish life, right? We don't want to live a foolish life hurting ourselves with our words. That sounds terrible. And the last thing the preacher notes about fools is that fools' toil wearies them because they do not know the way. And this, simply put, is that fools spend all their time working for things that they cannot get, and they get tired out, and they never achieve their actual goal. And we know this, right? We've read the entirety of Ecclesiastes, and so we've seen that this can't make you happy, 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 and the fool is working for all of those things. And so, of course, their toil, their striving, their work can't make them happy, can't bring about the end result that they're looking for. And so, in summary, fools discredit any wisdom that they have, go the complete opposite direction of wisdom, bring themselves pain by the way they talk, and live meaningless lives. Simply put, we don't want to be fools, right? And that's what the preacher is warning us about. And then he closes with this interesting little caveat that he has seen. He calls it a great evil under the sun. And that is the fact that even though folly and foolishness is so bad and so dangerous and so destructive, it is also put into high places. And he shows this through that phrase and through a bunch of contradictory statements, right? Or paradoxical statements where the person who does this work gets hurt by this work. And all of it to show that the material outcome doesn't always match what we think it should. It doesn't always make complete logical sense for us, right? We want it to be A equals B every single time, and it's not. And the preacher notes that and then concludes with, but wisdom still helps one to succeed. And so simply put, the takeaway from that is that foolishness is always destructive, always painful, all of these things, even when it seems to be celebrated or promoted or loved, right? And wisdom is always better, even when the material outcome doesn't match what we think it should. And because of this, we need perseverance, because it's going to be kind of hard to want to continue following wisdom when you see foolishness celebrated, or you see foolishness based on consequences, or any of these things. And so this week, as you follow up in the home as the parent or guardian, as the lead discipler, ask your student, what are some foolish things that you need to avoid? What are some foolish things that you need to avoid specifically that are celebrated, that are promoted, that are enjoyed in our day, right? Think about how many things are commonplace that we don't necessarily think about that we need to judge, is this foolish or not? Because just because something is put into a high place doesn't mean it's not foolish. In fact, a lot of times it means that it is foolish. And then encourage them as well that wisdom is always better. Even if the material here and now seems to promote the foolish thing, wisdom is always better. Even if you miss out on some things, wisdom is always better. So that is all I have for you this week. We will be back in Ecclesiastes next week, almost wrapping up the book. It's been a great school year so far. If you have any questions or anything for me during the week, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, see you next time.